We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Do a roll call, please.
Yes. Director Wheeler,
Here.
Director Zuka, Director President Zuka,
Here.
Director Schmidt,
Here.
Vice President Jordan, here. We have a quorum.
Since this is your last meeting, she can lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And do we want to have Julie go over the just cause with
Sure.
Brian?
Julie?
Yeah, so Director Schmidt will be joining today pursuant to the Brown Act's just cause exception to the teleconference requirements. And just a reminder that any actions need to be by roll call vote.
A reminder. Do we have any public comment? This is public comment in general for items that are otherwise not on the agenda. Hearing none. Okay. Item number 3, agenda review, additions, deletions, and full consent items. Director Schmidt, you okay?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, item number 4, none. On to item number 5, consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda tonight. Since there was no pulling of any items or comments, I have a motion for.
I have one comment.
Oh, you have one comment.
Yes. On the minutes for the September 26th meeting. I was listed as. Under item 8C. I seconded the motion, but you have me listed as vice president.
Got a promotion.
Yes.
Thank you. No other comment.
All right. Director Schmidt, I see your hand up, very, very small in the far distance.
Sorry about the small hand. It's a little ways away. Just a comment on item 5D on page 23 regarding the purchase of new vehicles. It says 3rd or 4th paragraph down. With the purchase of the 4 model year 2024 vehicles, the district should have more time to manage a transition to an electric fleet, which is expected to become applicable to the district vehicle purchases beginning in 2027. So I don't have a problem or concern about these purchases. I hope that future purchases are not designed in a way to put off the transition to electric vehicles. So I hope actually there'll be some EV purchases even before the 2027 deadline. So that's just what I wanted to pass along, and I'm happy to support the item.
Great. I need a motion and we'll do.
I move that we approve the consent calendar. Consent agenda.
As amended.
As amended.
A second.
All right, since there's a couple of resolutions on here, can I have a roll call vote?
Yes, me. Director Wheeler,
Yes.
Vice President Jordan,
Yes.
Director Schmidt,
Yes.
President Zuka,
Yes. Okay, consent passes. Moving on to item number 6A, hearings and appeals, and receiving a summary of objections received for ordinance 128.
All right, if you recall, the board passed ordinance 128 to allow for, productive comments from the customers, objecting to the rate changes. And to allow the district to have a mechanism to respond to the customers. So, previously you were provided a packet of all, letters received as of the last board meeting on October 21st, and then again, everything received through November 8th, which was the deadline for the ordinance 128 objections. Also this morning, I emailed you additional letters that we received after the November 8th objection, but that had more detailed objections articulated, as well as our response to that. I also printed that, so you have that in front of you. And then for completeness, I also provided printed here the packet of Prop 218 only objections we've received, which aren't required to and don't, as you can see, articulate a thorough objection, or no, sorry, not a thorough objection, but a detailed reason. So you have the full packet. We received before the November 8th deadline, a total of 7 letters. Only 2 of which identified that they were consistent with ordinance 128, which was a requirement, but we went ahead and reviewed and responded all of them. And then total, we received as of to date, and so this would be adding 1, which we haven't reviewed the details of. So that would be a total of 17 protests of any kind. So
We mailed out how many notices?
it was close to 10,000. It was because we mail out to every single customer as well as every single parcel owner. So it winds up being more than our 8,100 connections. And the table in here summarizes, as of the time this report was published, the key concerns from customers. Primarily, or the highest, most common one was just how were these water rates determined? And the second most common were both how were the water rate tiers determined, and that's some of the more recent ones that we've been after this. Ask that question, as well as why do we not have a financial assistance program like PG&E or AT&T does? And then, as we discussed before, all of these responses that we issued to customers, we added to that frequently asked questions section on our website as we developed and responded to customers, so that it was transparent to anyone who wanted to find the information on our website. So,
And for the sake of people that might be listening, what was the process that we followed for changing the water rates?
we will go over that in some detail when we go through the hearing as well and talk about the Prop 18, but I'm happy to, if you want me
It's
to.
just like, it was more just the study level of it, since we're dealing with, I'm looking at the range of comments. Maybe just a little bit about unless you've got it in also in what you plan on saying, but analysis that was done.
Yeah, it was a full rate study done by an independent consultant, HF&H Consultants, consistent with all the requirements of Prop 218, that reviewed all of our operating costs and our including our CIP investment costs, our budget, and projected into the future what our budget will be as well, and looked at our total operating our total expenses and needs over the next 5 years. And so, and that documented, so that's documented in the rate study. It also looked at and assessed our water use patterns by our customers and assessed the tier breakpoints based on the current water use. It's key that, we haven't done that assessment based on the water use patterns since 2015, the last time we did a 5-year rate study. So water use patterns have changed. So that is what resulted in the change in the tier structure. It was just in response to the changes in customer use patterns.
Any questions on the summary of objections? Okay. At this point, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And we're going to be conducting a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed increases in the district's water volume rates, meter service charges, and water short rate factors in the district's rate and fee schedule. And probably provided a little bit of this already, Kat, at my request, but go ahead, if you wouldn't mind, provided some additional background.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at its regular board meeting on September 26th, the board of directors directed staff to develop and send out a proposition 218 notice to all district customers, as well as property owners, and to call this public hearing to consider an increase in the district's water rates. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony on updates to the district's water volume rates, meter service charges, and water shortage rate factors, including a realignment of residential and commercial water rate tiers, and the inclusion of a mechanism to allow for the pass-through of San Francisco Public Utilities Commission water rate changes. If approved by the board, these changes will become effective January 1st, 2025. On September 26th, the board also adopted ordinance 128, as we just covered, which set procedures for members of the public to follow to provide meaningful opportunity for a ratepayer to resolve an objection to a proposed water rate before resorting to litigation after the new rates are approved. At the October 24th meeting, and again at this meeting, the board received packets of the ordinance 128 objection letters and the district's responses to the objection letters. Additionally, this morning, as I mentioned, the board was sent a packet of letters sent after the November 8th deadline. But as I mentioned, the staff did choose to respond, given the concerns articulated to them. And so those are also provided as hard copy. The district previously implemented 5-year rate plans for the 2010 to 2014 and 2015 to 2019 periods. We've not increased our customer rates except for the pass-throughs from San Francisco water, wholesale water increases since July 2019. It's been quite a while. As you know, the district buys all its water with which it serves its customers from San Francisco Water Department. The San Francisco Public Utilities Commission governs the San Francisco Water Department, and they've increased the wholesale rate for Hetch Hetchy Water. It's also the district and other suburban agencies in multiple times in recent years. So those costs have been passed through directly and only those costs. In addition to keeping up with these volumetric rate increases, the district must from time to time ensure that it is raising enough revenue to cover district operating expenses, reserves, and our CFP projects. And so the district engaged HF&H consultants to prepare a comprehensive financial plan and rate study to develop new rates that would allow the district to maintain revenue adequate for purchasing wholesale water from the SFPUC, maintain adequate reserves, address increases in operating expenses, and complete the capital improvement projects in the district's updated fiscal year 2024-2025 capital improvement program and the 5-year VIP budget. And I will mention that Rick Simonson from HF&H is on Zoom if there's any questions for him. The board of directors met and carefully considered the needs of the district, community, and the proposed rates at 10 public meetings was over the course of since December 2023, and determined that the water rate changes are necessary, proportional, and in the best interest of the district, its customers, and the community. This completes my summary, Mr. President.
Thank you, Kat. Before we hear testimony, I'd like to have the district secretary review the steps that were taken to inform the public.
Sure. On October 4th, the district mailed out to the address on file for every district customer and record property owner a written notice explaining the amount, reason, and purpose for the proposed water unit rate increases in full compliance with Proposition 218, as well as a letter regarding the Ordinance 128 objection process. Notices were also posted at 2 locations at the district office and on the district's website. Finally, a comprehensive set of frequently asked questions and the district's responses were posted on the district's website.
Great, thank you. Has any correspondence been received from the public to be incorporated into the record?
Yes, we have received 18 letters, now 19, from 16 and 17 individuals protesting the proposed water rate increases and or expressing concerns pursuant to Ordinance 128. All of the details are included in the correspondence packages you've been provided.
Great. So at this time, I'm going to call for public testimony on the water rate increase proposal as outlined. Every member of the public that would like to speak has 3 minutes. And feel free to stand in no particular order. There's only 2 of you. If you're interested in speaking on this topic.
Can we take turns?
Yeah. Well, not at the same time, but turns would be preferable.
I just have a couple of questions. First of all, why the increases for 5 years? I'm sorry, maybe it's been discussed in the past and I haven't been involved. Why does it have to be increasing for 5 years in a row?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So it's a 5-year rate study. It's a large effort to go through a rate study. And so this district typically, as I mentioned, does it in a, 5-year period. And so we, project the outlook, what we expect it to be over the next 5 years. The rates that are passed for the next 5 years are the maximum the district can raise rates. However, every year, the board will review its budget, its reserves, and its needs, and they can opt to not raise rates at all, or to raise them less than the maximum that is identified in the study. And in fact, the board has in the past opted to not raise rates as high as they've been in the past rate study.
So the 5 year is an arbitrary thing that. Somebody
I
decided.
don't believe it's arbitrary. Maybe our general counsel can comment. I'm not sure we're allowed to go beyond that. We're more trying to plan out what the likelihood could be
Mhm.
and set a cap on what what we could raise and engage the public in the process. Every year, like, the general manager said, we actually look at the budget, the expenses and the actuals and decide what within that we think is appropriate to raise. But the public hearing process and the 218 is fairly involved. And so we try to set a plan for 5 years, but we will revisit this in full public meetings to talk about the budget every year. So every year, there's opportunities for public.
So next year, this time, you guys will decide whether you will raise it for 2026.
This is a little bit off cycle. Normally, this happens at our we're fiscal year based. So normally these conversations happen in the spring.
Okay, I
yeah.
don't know the
No,
timing, but
fair
I'm
enough.
saying.
Yes, annually.
2025, you will decide for 2026,
Correct.
and so on and so forth.
Do it on an annual basis, correct?
Okay, and you said, the lady, I don't know her name, but she said that this hasn't been done since 2019,
The last time we did a 5-year rate study was actually in 2015.
2015.
And it covered from 2015 to 2019.
Mhm.
And so the last time the district raised rates for our own revenue needs was in 2019, July 2019. There's been some rate increases since, but those have just been direct pass through of our purchase costs from San Francisco
Mhm.
and not related to our operating expenses.
But it's been 5 years since we've increased rates to cover our costs. We pay San Francisco, we've had to pass through those costs, but we haven't adjusted our rates in 5 years.
Okay,
But partly because of the pandemic, partly because of yeah, it's fine, we only got a couple of times. It's okay. Okay. So this is the first time that we're looking at raising rates. We do have a lot of capital expenses coming up. This isn't our normal office. It flooded in the big rains of 2023. And we have.
yeah, I went there accidentally a couple of weeks ago.
There you go. So we have some work to do there along with other capital projects that we're going to be implementing.
Okay. And my second question is this proposed monthly meter service charges. So what is meter charges? These are the meters that are attached to my pipe.
Correct.
So what's happening with those that the rates have to go up?
Good
Why?
question. So that,
I mean, I understand the water.
right. There's
It's
there's
increased.
two charges typically in a water utility. There's the fixed charge.
Yeah.
And a variable, right?
Yeah,
Water districts will do different proportions of fixed, so it doesn't really matter how much water is consumed, we still have costs that we have to bear every month.
Mhm.
And then we have the variable charges associated with how much.
Usage,
With
yeah.
usage.
Mhm.
So we tend to split those, and the meter charge is helping to cover our fixed costs. And then we have the variable charge. It's not all of our fixed costs on the meter charge, there's some that are on the variable. But the meter charge is used as a mechanism for recovering fixed costs every month. You get the electric bills are typically 100% usage based.
Mhm.
And water utilities are slightly different. They'll split it across a meter charge and a usage charge. So you're not paying that much money for the meter. The meter charge is the name of the charge that we provide for being connected to the system, and those reflects our fixed costs.
Okay, but you guys are raising the rate to
Correct.
cover your costs.
Cover costs, correct?
I mean, I'm not talking about meter charge, I'm talking about the other rates,
Both. We're raising
Volume.
both.
water volume.
Yeah, we're raising both. We're raising the fixed, we're raising the meter charge and we're raising the variable charge.
Okay. I mean, I kind of understand the water volume rate increase, not necessarily for 5 years in a row, but the meter charge, I mean, both of them at the same time, it kind of, to me, kind of strange, but has this been going, I mean, I don't know, I have only lived here for 10 years, so is this the normal thing?
Yes. It's-
I mean, that doesn't mean just because it's been happening, it's the right thing. I'm just asking, is this a normal thing that has been?
It's normal not only for this district, but for the industry as well. Very much so.
So it's not necessarily a meter service charge because the meter has been installed there forever.
Correct. We're not charging you
And
for
it's
the
not
meter
wearing
that's sitting
out.
on your property. We're,
So,
the meter charge is the name that we use to
Okay.
cover our fixed, it's basically the flat,
it's a rent.
it's a rent. It's the charge that we, to connect to the system, if you will,
Okay.
to have water delivered. And then there's a variable rate on top of that.
And you'll notice that the larger the meter, the higher the fixed meter charge, and that's because with a larger meter, you have additional capacity needs, you're able to get higher, larger volume of water in a given month.
Mhm.
So there's a larger draw on the system and a larger capacity proportion of the fixed charges that you're paying for.
I mean, you just deliberate more water through that meter. I mean, it's not, the meter is not doing anything extra. It's just a bigger meter.
Correct.
I mean, yes, you have a 6-inch and you pay $1,200 for it. I mean, it's not my concern, but it is kind of weird to me because it's just a meter.
Right.
Water passed through it.
One way
It
of
doesn't
thinking
matter if
about-
it's a 6-inch or, I mean, that thing may be a little bit more expensive than a 6-inch meter
Mhm.
at a fixed cost, but
Another way of thinking
you
about
pay
it
for it
is
every month.
that
that much.
one connection, that one connection compared to a 5/8 meter, say, for example,
Mhm.
a larger meter is taking up more of our system capacity. So if you look at our costs
Mhm.
and you try to apportion it to the users, a larger meter is using more water
Yeah,
and is therefore allocated more of our fixed costs. And then they also pay the variable rate. So this is also very standard in the water industry where you have a meter charge and it'll be cheaper for smaller meters than big meters. Part of that is that we want to incentivize people to use the smallest meter possible. Because bigger meters are more expensive and we don't necessarily want them, larger than
well, some
necessary.
people don't have a choice. I mean, if you have a commercial business, then you need more water.
Exactly. And then we size.
It's not incentivizing somebody who needs more water to go with the smaller meter.
Yeah.
It's just they need more water, so they need more water.
And then as a result, they get proportion more of our fixed costs because of the size of the amount of water that we're
So
providing.
when you say they're draining your resources, help me understand, how does that drain your company's resources? If you're providing more water to them,
I
the
don't
water
think
is
so.
just flowing through the pipe, it just happens that these guys use more of it. That's
Yeah,
all.
no, they're not, I wouldn't say they're draining our resources. That was, I don't think our words. It's more that we, again, are trying to recover our costs.
Mhm.
We have certain costs going out the door and we have revenue, and the only revenue we have is rates. So it's just basically balancing those two. And doing so through an analysis and a rate study, trying to apportion it between the fixed costs and the variable costs. Those are the knobs that we have to turn. The rates that you see before you, and that are on the hearing tonight is basically just that. That's the result of the analysis and, what's necessary for us to be able to cover our costs.
And I would add that Proposition 218 is very prescriptive in the way you can apportion costs. And so the fixed meter and volumetric costs are very standard. It's also consistent with the AWWA, the American Water Works Association standards. They give the methodology for apportioning it.
Definitely
So-
don't know much about 218 or any of
Yeah.
those standards, so just the average Joe, you know.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer your question.
Yeah, we appreciate the questions, but just to show you, this is normal, this is typical, this is
Yeah,
consistent with what other agencies do.
and hopefully the last question I have is, do you guys calibrate these meters?
Yes. The
Third
larger
party?
ones we do calibrate.
Or, no, any of them?
That was the larger ones we do because of the larger generation of revenue,
Yeah.
but we're gonna be checking some of our smaller residential ones just to see
How
how
often is
accurate
it?
they are. Pardon me?
How often?
We do them every couple of years. Yeah, we kind of rotate every couple of years and
Do
check
you
it out.
randomly go or you go through all of them?
We pick on the larger ones. We don't have a lot of large water meters. So those ones we'll probably do 50% of them. And then a couple of years later, we'll do the other 50% just to make sure that they're accurate, because again, they're the ones that generate the revenue for the
And
district.
generally what happens is that meters don't overread.
Yeah.
They underread. So when we calibrate meters and we find that one's out of calibration, we put a new meter in, it's gonna read higher, not less. So you don't find, pretty much almost ever. I mean, maybe
Older
they're not,
meters.
yeah, the older the meter, it's gonna be reading that you're consuming less water. When
Okay,
we swap them out, most of the complaints we'll get are people calling because their water bill is high all of a sudden. And a lot of times it's because they just got a new water meter and it's actually measuring more accurately.
and is it a third party or you guys do it yourself?
Send that out, right?
You know, we have a third party do the calibration. We just install the meters when we buy them from the manufacturer. And at the factory, they're calibrated for accuracy before they're sent
And
out.
we get calibration.
Okay, so
reports
the company
from each
Z, which is not Mid-Peninsula, comes in and
Correct.
That's correct.
checks it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Try to be above board.
I'm sorry,
I'm joking. It was a joke. Bad one at that.
I'm sorry, I didn't even.
No, I was joking. Never mind.
All right,
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Any comments? No? Any comments online?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, no, but so before closing the public hearing, can I ask general counsel for a brief summary and description of the actions required at this time?
Thanks, Mr. President. This will be brief, and by the way, there is a maximum 5 years that Prop 218 allows, so you were right on that one. So Ms. Wolfing has presented the purpose of this hearing. The district has sent out the required Prop 218 notifications. You have afforded the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed rate increases and receive for consideration all written protests and all objections pursuant to ordinance 128. The board has now satisfied all legal requirements, meaning all procedural and substantive requirements. And you may now proceed to close the public hearing.
Great, thank you. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to close. Do we have to take a roll call vote on that one, Julie?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Roll call vote.
Director Vella,
Yes.
Director Wheeler.
Yes.
Director Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice President Jordan. Yes. President Zuka.
Yes. Okay, it's public hearing. Vote. Very much. Okay, looking at the agenda, closed hearing, so there have not been a majority of parcels that are protested.
Sure, very much so.
So I think the public hearing has been closed. Do we need anything else?
We have to adopt
We have to adopt the ordinance, yeah.
So the ordinance you have before you, just updates our rate schedule effectively, for just the January 1, 2025 increase that we discussed. As discussed, any future, increases will go through the same process and the board will make the judgment at that time. So by, accepting this ordinance, we will, send out the 30-day, rate increase notice and attach the rates as of January 1.
Very good. Given that, I think we need a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. And item 6B.
It's,
It's,
yeah, 6B, the last 5, if written protests have representing majority have not been received. Then we adopt the ordinance.
So this will be an ordinance 129.
One, yeah, And
amending attachment A regarding rates and fees to the water service ordinance number 103 for the Mid-Peninsula Water District.
Was that a
Is that
motion?
correct? I'll move that motion. Well, I have to say what the motion is.
I want to know, you know what, you were saying it very well, I just wanted to know if that was a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
No, I think, Director, Wheeler beat you to it.
Okay.
So there's a
Darn you,
second.
Director Wheeler.
Well, I mean, unless you want the last motion for the record on your way
Yeah,
out
why
the
not?
door, I mean, we'll give it to you. Actually, that was a second by Director Schmidt, let's get his name on the minutes.
Okay.
I could yield to him too.
Director Bella,
Yes,
Director Schmidt,
Yes.
Director Wheeler,
Yes.
Vice President Jordan,
Yes.
President Zuka.
Yes. All right, motion and resolution passes. So,
thank you so
Uh,
much.
A very brief comment.
yes,
If we, and I apologize, maybe I'm going back slightly to 6A. I appreciate all the responses that were given to the people filing protests regarding why does the Mid-Peninsula Water District not have a financial assistance program like PG&E and AT&T? I'm hoping that this is probably a question that's going to come up repeatedly, and I'm hoping that the responses could be made in a way that's somewhat more accessible. I think this is written at a fairly technical level. If it could be made written at a more accessible, easier to understand level, I think that would be helpful for some residents. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you, that's a helpful comment.
yeah, maybe it's not in our FAQs on the website already,
It is, but it's the same
thing.
technical response.
But
I
I
don't
mean,
think everyone-
not the FAQs related to this hearing, but any FAQs we have in general that would survive the hearing.
Yeah, well, we plan to leave the general FAQ as it is up,
Mhm.
with updates if the rates have passed. For a couple months after January passes, and then we'll convert it to a general kind of rate FAQ. So, I did just want to say thank you to Rick since he was on, but, did not need to respond, so.
Thank you, Rick. Still there.
Yeah.
There's there.
Once we gavel, yeah.
it's very good comment. Yeah, I do echo Director Schmidt's,
Now he's gone.
what's that?
Now they're gone.
Oh. No, I do echo Director Schmidt's comments about the appreciation of the comments that we received from our constituents and all that. I mean, some of them did a lot of good research too when they wrote their letter, so.
Mhm.
But I also wanted to say kudos to staff, for covering all the bases and making sure that anybody and everybody who needed to have a comment in was heard and was replied to. So hopefully, we're as transparent as we possibly could be.
Yeah.
So,
And at the end of the day,
this is never an easy thing to do when you're putting in or adopting new rates. And here I am, proposing an ordinance to rate it, but it needs to happen, so.
and I mean, I think that we had 10,000, I think this number came up with, we got your 10,000 mailers went out, we got 16 purchase orders, so.
Yeah.
It's, there's a lot of communication. So.
Yeah, it's a testament to the good work, so somebody had, especially a frequently asked question that was.
Yeah.
On the left.
And I will say, I do like this process, if I'm sure painful as it is for staff, of responding, especially at this volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a huge volume. I like the process of responding to the written complaints in writing and making sure that people that aren't complaining know their voices are heard, so that's great.
I liked the process a lot as well. I'm glad there wasn't too many more.
Yeah.
Cause it is a little bit time consuming, making sure you're being as thorough and comprehensive on the responses, but, in the end, I think it worked out well. And I think, John Davidson, I think is still on, he deserves a lot of kudos as well for designing the mailer, doing some of the writing, getting all the FAQs up there. A lot of the, this wouldn't have happened without him, for sure.
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks, John. Well, you're still on.
Item 8A, receive report from Will Benson.
All right, well, this one's an easy one for me. We have Bud and Rob on to tell us how the investments have been doing.
Rob, you want to do a little intro?
Yeah, go ahead. No, for sure.
It's a pleasure to be here to review the results of the Treasury program. Rob did a lot of work on this and has prepared a report that he will go over. I just want to add that the staff was very cooperative in the various meetings that we had on each reinvestment period, and a pleasure to work with. And I think we were able to come up with very good decisions to benefit the district, based a lot on their input and listening to what we had to say. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rob to go over the actual numbers.
Thank you, Bud. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see everyone's faces again. I'm here tonight just to give a brief update on the U.S. Treasury Securities Investment Program. This update will cover the period from October of 2022 through September 30th, 2024. That's the inception of the program to the most recent quarter end. And I'm going to refer to that period as the reference period. So during the reference period, the district bought and held a total of 15 U.S. Treasury securities. Those Treasury securities generated gross book earnings of $920,000 over the 2-year period. Over that same period, the district had an average daily invested balance in this program of just under $10 million. The district's portfolio generated an annualized gross book yield of 4.72% over the period. Those are the gross numbers. Next, I'm going to talk about the net numbers. So from the outset of the program, we estimate that Mid-Peninsula has paid total gross fees by participating in this program of just under $40,000. That's fees to us acting as municipal advisor, the firm Causey, Demgen & Moore acting as bidding agent, and Zion's Bank acting as the custodian bank. So that breaks down to about $20,000 per year, although that was significantly front-loaded. As you might remember, there were one-time upfront startup costs from the various service providers. But the fees average out to about $20,000 per year. So on a net book earnings basis, this program has generated net earnings of over $881,000 over the nearly 2-year period. This equates to an annualized net book yield of 4.51%. Next, I'm going to show a little comparison to the local agency investment fund, or LAIF. So LAIF has an annualized quarterly apportionment rate that it publishes, which is essentially its blended rate for each quarter. Those rates are listed here. So if you take those rates during the reference period, the average annualized quarterly apportionment rate paid by LAIF over that same period was 3.69%. And LAIF's number is net of all their operating costs, which they take out before paying interest to member participating agencies. So if Mid-Peninsula had invested its average daily balance of approximately $10 million in LAIF, it would have earned on a net basis approximately $720,000. So that means that the U.S. Treasury program so far has out-earned LAIF by approximately $160,000 over a 2-year period, net of all fees. So that's our brief report, and we're happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, just my question would be if LAIF is going to continue going up slightly each quarter.
So on a quarterly basis, LAIF has gone up, but on a daily and weekly basis, LAIF has now been trending down for approximately 6 weeks. And currently the yield on the 3-month, 6-month, and 9-month U.S. Treasury security is either equal to or exceeding the current daily LAIF rate. And the most recent LAIF rate was published on November 13th. They published the daily rate every Thursday for the prior week.
Yeah. Okay. So that was where my question was going, was in the next quarter or the next time period when we have to reinvest or taking, would we want to go with a treasury package, or would we start divesting from the treasuries and going back to LAIF?
So if you were making the decision today, it would make sense to reinvest in Treasury securities because you're essentially locking in a downtrending rate that's not going to change, whereas the LAIF rate has been trending down daily. The district's next maturity is at the end of December. So at that time, we'll prepare a report for the staff, go over all of the yields and facts at that time, and we'll work towards making a decision that's in the best interest of the district. I suspect that we'll be in a similar situation rate-wise about a month from now, but these things change and we stay on top of these things and keep the staff informed so that they can make informed decisions.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, during these last 6 months, or maybe even 9 months, even at the finance committee, we've been talking about this is an election year, this is an election year. Well, the election has come and gone. Now, did we read the tea leaves correctly? And what's the projection, in your estimation for January 20th and beyond?
And that's still reading.
I think I can address that as somebody with over 50 years experience in watching these various circumstances develop in our country and our economic system. First of all, with the new administration coming in, it's going to take them a period of time to implement some of the programs that they're talking about, which appear on the face to be somewhat inflationary. However, the Fed is independent, at least at the moment they are, and as a result, they look at the actual numbers that are coming in on economic activity. Recently, the economic activity has kind of leveled off after dropping down. They still are on the program of stating that they are going to continue to lower the rates until they get the base lending rate at a good ratio to the 2-year Treasury, which historically it has been. Right now, they're about 200 basis points ahead of that. So there's a very good possibility that the rates will eventually drop another 200 basis points and then level off. In the meantime, we're looking for 25 basis point increments over the next meetings, the next one being December, and the estimate is fairly probable that there'll be another 25 basis points drop on the Fed lending rate. As a result, LAIF will continue to drop because they continue to invest in the very short-term issues. And I think our program will hold up very well. And I think that the rates will continue to drop until well into 2025. I think in 2026, my estimate is that there's a very good chance that inflation will start burgeoning up again, and you could see the rates start going up. So I think that's what we're looking at right now.
And to answer your first question about reading the tea leaves, the district outperformed LAIF, which was the investment vehicle it was using for these funds previously, by approximately 80 basis points, annualized over a 2-year period. So I'd say you guys did a great job.
You're the better than real estate. Oh, very good.
All right, any other questions?
No.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Always good to get good news and get complimented for our wisdom.
Yes.
Item 8B, consider resolution 2024-24, update to the residential water service termination policy.
All right, so, and Julie can provide, any additional background, but we first passed the existing residential, water service termination rate in 2020, when a new law requiring districts, to establish one and publish it came out. Since then, the, law has been updated to require agencies to provide an alternative payment plan to any delinquent customer, regardless of any kind of qualifying condition. So this is just to update the policy consistent with that new requirement. So, any customer that's delinquent and asks for a payment plan, we will offer it to them. Any questions?
Any questions?
I just have one comment. Thank you for, you updated the policy redlining it so we could see the changes. It makes a huge difference. So thank you for that.
Mr. Schmidt? No? Sorry. All right, it's a resolution, so, can I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve resolution number 2024-24, approving an update to the residential water service termination policy.
I'll second that.
All right. Roll call vote.
Director Wheeler,
Yes.
Director Bella,
Yes.
Director Schmidt,
Yes,
Vice President Jordan. Yes. President Zuka.
Yes. Okay, on to 9A1. Sorry, C, 8C. Trying to get past it. I scratched it off on my agenda because we were there already. And then I went to go read it and I went past it. So that was nice. Water system condition report.
Sure, yeah, Allison, yeah, there you go, thank you. So just on this slide here, the United States, the drought monitor map, I want to just point out a couple of regions. The Texas Panhandle, you'll see there that they've got some exceptional drought taking place right now. It's been going on for quite some time. And what's going to be interesting is there's a couple of other US maps that talk about precipitation outlook and also temperature outlook later on. And you're going to see that the precipitation outlook for that part of Texas and the temperature outlook is not going to help. It sounds like it's only going to get worse. The other thing I was going to point out is over in the upper Northeast in New York and Vermont, New Hampshire, so on, and New Jersey. I read some articles this past week that the state of New York and New Jersey are asking for folks to reduce their water consumption. You know, they're starting to feel the effects of droughts in the Northeast. It's something they haven't seen. I want to say it was like maybe 20 years. I forget that they put a time frame in there, but it's been some time. You know, so for us, California, if you go to the next slide. Pardon me.
That's some bad fire.
Yeah.
Which is not normal at all.
Yeah, it's not. For us, California wise, you know, we're slowly starting to dry out, you know. I was looking at the table there right in the middle and comparing last week and 3 months ago. And so the area of no drought and then the abnormally dry, they just kind of been flip-flopping. You know, just more and more of the states starting to show the effects of just being abnormally dry. And then, of course, when you go down to the Colorado River basin area, you see that they're showing signs of severe drought right now in California. And of course, today, you know, we're all week we've been hearing about the atmospheric river that's hitting California. We're not seeing too much of it here. North of us, right? They're getting some flooding issues along the coastline, and then they're expecting a lot of snow in the Sierra Nevada. I've heard that some of the skiing places in the Tahoe area have already opened up. You know, but it's that time of the year too, right? It's not unusual.
Tomorrow, I think it's gonna come.
Are you going skiing, Jubin? Jubin likes to ski.
Yeah.
No, it's just been rain up there so far, but it's gonna drop over the weekend, the temperatures.
Yeah.
Well,
Flipping to the next page is the reservoir situation for the state. And for the most part, you know, most of the reservoirs throughout the state are at their historical levels, right? That green line that kind of goes across, which is normal, right? We're out of the water use period of summertime, you know, and that they are at that level is just an indication that, again, there was still a lot of water left over from 2023's overabundance of water in the system. And so, you know, depending on what happens this year, how much rain and how much snow we get and what melts off, and, you know, we're going to see either these reservoir levels rise or, you know, drop off like we've seen in the past during the drought period. The next slide, this is from the San Francisco report at the Bosco Water Managers meeting. Just the Hetch-Hetchy precipitation, and so you can see the red line down there in October, November. You know, we're just off to a really slow start in terms of precipitation up in the Sierra Nevada. It'll be interesting to see next month what they report out, you know, based on what happened here, you know, recently, and maybe the next week or two when we have our next water managers meeting. But just a really slow start to precipitation in our watershed area. The next slide, just the upcountry stations again from San Francisco reporting. Just a really slow start. It looks very similar. It's just a different version of that graph that was on the previous page. This is a bar graph instead of a line graph. So we're just off to a real slow start. We're well below the 30-year mean for the station index. So again, can't say much there other than just off to a slow start. Same thing with the Bay Area, just off to a slow start. We'll see what happens, you know. And then storage. Thanks, Allison. Storage, we're looking really good overall. At the beginning of November, we're including all areas of Tuolumne and the local. We're at 87% capacity, almost 1.3 million acre feet. Compared to last year at around the same time, last year we were at 1.36 million acre feet. So we're about 100,000 acre feet less than last year at the same time, which isn't bad. But like I said, Steve Ritchie, the assistant general manager, saying, man, we're looking pretty good. The water bank is kind of what he likes to point to a lot. He just said it's just real full right now. It's completely full. So we're looking good going into the winter. You know, we've got room, they've got room in the reservoirs to take in some of the snow when it starts melting next spring, which is what they're looking for. The next slide is just that the seasonal precipitation outlook. So this is where I was pointing, trying to point out the fact that, again, poor Texas, you know, that panhandle area there, they're predicting that the outlook there is going to look pretty low for rainfall. And they're already in an exceptional drought situation, so it's not looking good for us. And the states of La Nina, and they're saying it's an equal chance of it being a wet year or dry year. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. We've got our first major storm hitting us this past week. We'll see what happens. And then temperature wise, same thing. That poor area of Texas looks like they're predicting the temperatures are going to be higher than normal for us, you know, have an equal chance of being a warmer winter or cooler winter. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. The next slide is just the fire map. You know, right now we're into the winter, so the fire season's pretty much done. There is a little bit of low risk areas in California along the Pacific coastline, from Northern California all the way to Southern California, but not much. Compared that to maybe a month or so ago, the same map, you know, California has some pretty high risk areas being pointed out. So overall, things are just kind of trending to probably what they look like normally this time of year. In terms of water deliveries, the next slide for the regional water system, the green line is the 2024. So you can see that last reported, you know, the water deliveries have for this whole calendar year been at or above the 5-year median and definitely above 2023 when we just had an overabundance of water. People just didn't need to use a lot of water outside, but that's what happened this year. There was just a little bit more water being used outside because we just didn't have as much rain. But we're also going into that period of time in the calendar year when people just don't use water as they start turning off their outside sprinkler systems. And it's reflecting. One thing I remember Steve Ritchie saying, he goes, it's just always interesting how when we get to the very end, the far right of the column, that last week, everybody just, or all the periods of time just kind of all come to that same point. It gets down to about 135 or whatever it counts a day. And it's just been landing right around there for years. And then for us locally, our water use in October 24 compared to 23 was up almost 8%, but still we're in our downward trend. You know, people are starting to turn off their outside water use, you know, but you can see the 2013 dash line at the very top, see how much, you know, folks have taken to conservation and being efficient with their water use. It reflects it. And you've got these other periods of time, you know, between 2021 and 2024, they're all kind of grouped together, you know, except in 2013.
It's interesting, ours do not go to the same point.
No, they don't. They're close, but yeah, they don't go, they don't bunch up. And then the last line graph is our cumulative. It looks like we're probably gonna be right around where we were last year. Last year, we ended up a little under 1.1 million CCF. The 5-year line there is the 1.189 or 1.19 million CCF. We're going to be below that, looks like. And I was looking at the last time we were above that 5-year average. It was in 2019 when that line showed 1.24 million CCF. So, you know, our customers are doing things to conserve water. We see that. And that's part of the reason why we need to adjust our rates too, because, you know, as our consumption goes down, that means our revenue goes down, the volumetric goes down. But I mean, it's that fine line we walk. We're looking for revenue. We're also monitoring water quality and all kinds of things. All in the desire to meet our customers' demands. But that's the water picture. We'll see next month what things changed in the Sierra Nevadas in terms of rain and or snow. We'll start putting together some of that information. Any questions?
Nope.
Now, actually, on the ninth, treasurer and financial report.
All right, good evening. So you'll have to excuse my voice. I've been squeaking all day because my voice went out this week. So in the budget packet, of course, we have the standard budget to actual report as well as the water usage. We're about 1/3 of the way through the fiscal year, so you'd expect everything to be at about 33%, assuming everything is even throughout the year. So overall, our revenues were about 43%, and a lot of that is attributed to a water system capacity charge that we received during the year. These are one-time revenues that we received about 2 months ago, of approximately $800,000. Our water commodity charges were at about 41%. So we're definitely trending higher than where we would be, assuming streamline. But when you look down at the graph on the next page, you'll see that there's been a couple months where we were a little bit behind on the water usage, but it still looks like we're trending higher than where we are expecting to be. So just some food for thought. So there's a couple months that we're a bit over, and then a couple months that we're just a hair under. So just overall on the next page, excuse me, just kind of a snapshot. The highest increase in revenues, as I mentioned, was that water system capacity charges. We've also received, we've also earned a significant amount of interest revenue. One account that we hadn't included before, but we're going to start including going into the future, is related to our sweep account. So our checking account is connected with a sweep account, so they'll sweep funds into this investment account over a night, so that way we can earn essentially a daily rate. So we're going to start tracking that separately from everything else. So you'll see that separate interest revenue account on the line or on the budget schedule from now on. Our salaries and benefits, so purchase payroll taxes and benefits, it looks like it's trending a little bit higher, but that's because there's a couple upfront costs that we have incurred that will smooth out throughout the fiscal year. The other one, of course, is the purchase water cost. So that's trending a little bit higher than what we normally are. But again, we seem to be almost one payment ahead of where we were at this time last year. So we're making them essentially just a couple days earlier, but that kind of affects the month-to-month totals. Going down through, we've already incurred about $589,000 worth of capital projects. Some of that, about $102,000, is going to be attributed to the debt financing that we'll discuss here in the future. $132,000 is related to PAYGO, and then we did purchase the two trucks that we had budgeted for this year. So we purchased them in August, and they came in last month, and so now we're recognizing those on the books. Excuse me. On the next page, the statement of net position, you'll see that our cash reserves they're fairly straightforward from last year. We just have a different allocation from where it was at last year. Remember last year we had that restricted cash with fiscal agent was related to the project funds, which we spent down by, I think it was April. Now the remaining portion, restricted cash with fiscal agent, relates to the amounts we hold for OPEB as well as the amounts we hold for debt service. So which will be going out here in the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of the biggest change that we see on the statement of net position. And then finally, you'll see on the last page the reserves analysis. So we're definitely making headway in our reserves. Last month, our reserve for the capital was about 74%. And, based on the revenues that we've earned so far, we're up to 85% of funding that capital reserve. Once that capital reserve gets fully funded, that'll drop down to the rate stabilization reserves. So we're hoping for that to hit us. I would say sometime in the next 6 months that we'll be able to start increasing that reserve amount, filling that reserve. So you'll see interest to date, we received approximately $506,000 worth. 275, or excuse me, 275,000 we don't necessarily recognize in our books. But the remaining amounts that we do. So we've received 152,000 related to US Treasury notes that recognized only in this fiscal year. Again, there's that 15 for the Wells Fargo sweep account, and then just kind of miscellaneous from LAIF and PARS and BNY. But overall, we're making really good progress about funding those reserves that the board had established back in April of last year. And at this point, I'll go ahead and open it up to any questions. I can't believe my voice actually held out this entire time.
Any questions? No. Seeing none from Director Schmidt. Well, good. Thank you for the report, James.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay. A2, engineers report.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't get a written report in. Very slow month as far as design work goes. Basically, this last month, we've been trying to figure out what to do with our water main that goes through the City Hall parking lot, which is sitting now in the middle of a detention basin. So we're working through that project. We also got the 100% design from our consultant for our next water main project. So we're going through that before we put some dates together for it to go out to bid. That's a budgeted item for this fiscal year. But besides that, we're just working on miscellaneous engineering work. But those are the two big projects we're working on.
Very good. Any questions? Administrative service managers report.
So it just so happens that we're in conference season, so I have attended 3 conferences since last board meeting. I am grateful that I am done attending conferences.
They're tiring.
You're so smart, man.
I am so smart now, it's crazy. The very first one that I went to was CSDA, the board secretary one, which I will say was very beneficial. I attended a day early and I attended a policy and procedure workshop, which was a full day event. It was very insightful. I gained a lot of knowledge, but I think most importantly, connections with a lot of other district secretaries. So I've been able to kind of reach out to them when I have questions. So that was very valuable. The CalPERS conference, it's just what it is. It's learning all about CalPERS and all of the new legislation that's coming down. And it's just better for me to gain that knowledge so that I can pass it on to the district. But my most favorite one was definitely CalPELRA. And that's the HR conference of all HR conferences to go to for public sector. Kat joined me because I expressed how beneficial it would be for her to actually be surrounded by a bunch of HR people. I think we took her by surprise. She commented.
That could be taken multiple ways.
She turned to me during the opening ceremony. She goes, "There's a lot of perky people." And I was like, "Yes, you're surrounded by people like me."
Different than more engineering.
Yes, very much so.
A little bit.
Extrovert.
Right. So conference season is behind me. I am very grateful to be home, but grateful for the opportunity to actually attend them. Work right now is working very directly with the admin team. Misty, who you're all familiar with, has been working tirelessly to get us transferred out of Civic Pay into a new system, which is going to be Express Bill Pay. In hindsight, what it will do is save us so much admin time, which is just so beneficial for our small staff. Getting Kelly to not have to do such meticulous work over and over again, that this new system will just make seamless for her. So thanks to Misty for being able to get that going. I'm very happy with that. And then Liz, who is our payroll guru, She has been hard at work implementing all of the changes into ADP that we've been paying for historically that we had never been using. We finally had our last call with ADP yesterday, and so she will now be presenting on December 12th to all staff. So this will be her first time presenting. I'm very proud that she's actually agreed to present. If you know Liz, that is a small feat in itself to get her to agree. So I'll let you know how that goes, but I have high hopes that she'll do amazing. And then as you can see, the board vacancy communication hit mailboxes for our districts. And so we're very excited to start seeing all of those applications roll in.
Mhm.
I hope so.
Right after reading, they're gonna be like, nope.
I have a question,
Sure.
which was, why are there some people in Springbrook as opposed to Civic Pay? What is it, commercial customers or something?
No,
like
it's actually just how they're set up within it. So when they go in to sign up for their bill, they can sign up either it be in the Civic Pay or through us. And it's just kind of like this old kind of clunky system where they can choose one or the other. But that also depends on how they are even able to access their statements, their billing statements. Now, just kind of transitioning all of those funky little systems that we have into one streamlined. So everybody will be able to go onto this one system, access their statements, see historical statements, which you can't currently do. And actually get the time frame for water usage, the accurate dates on their statements versus how it currently is, it's not quite accurate.
Okay.
There's some other benefits too,
There's
like
a lot.
we'll be able to reach out to customers through email through that system.
Mhm.
Oh.
And what's really great too is that all of those that are currently within Civic Pay who have set up their own online accounts, it'll just be able to transition to Express Bill Pay. So they're not gonna actually have to go in and recreate auto pay for them.
On the topic of the board vacancy, I have a question for Julie, general counsel. If a city of Belmont employee lives in one of those districts, are they precluded from participating in this board?
I don't think so. I'd have to look at, the incompatible offices doctrine. So I guess it's sort of fact specific, like all conflicts of interest questions are. It would depend, I suppose, on what they did for the city. Like, if they were the public works director, that would likely present an incompatible offices issue. So we just have to look, depending on what they did, there may not be any.
It's not quite a pure hypothetical, but it's a pure hypothetical in the sense that they have no interest in doing it. I was curious as to how hard I should push.
I mean, if you wanna, contact me outside the meeting, we could look at the specific jobs
Okay.
that they do, and I could give you a quick take on it.
Yeah. Sounds good. If I get any more inclination that there might be remote interest, I will.
So this communication went out already?
Yes.
It's been mailed. I don't know that it's hit mailboxes yet. I think it's gonna hit end of this week, early next.
Because you would have gotten one, right?
Mhm.
Yes, but it's the election's not certified. That's the only weird thing for me. I mean,
Well, so the postcard itself doesn't say, well, imminent list the division. But if you're concerned, we can edit the webpage very easily.
well, I mean, maybe, I don't know if Julie has a position on this, like, I don't know. I just don't want to be jumping ahead of anything, even though it's highly likely that it'll be certified, but it's not certified. There's still, what did I say, 500
I mean,
votes.
Do you want it like 110% instead of 100% or what?
No, I'm comfortable
With the
with
way it
saying
is.
that I am gonna be sitting on city council, but it's not certified legally.
Correct.
That's,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
my hesitation.
I'm not worried about it being out there. I mean, it's not official until you actually resign. So,
If I remember, there was a thing in there that talked about division or divisions as in the description. Not on the card, but
Yeah,
in
the
the
website.
application / FAQs. That it was likely to be two, but it could just be one.
I just looked at the
I don't-
FAQs right now on the website, it doesn't say that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess my question is. Like, if there is like some weird fluke. Then can I apply for the vacancy?
I don't know, we might have to reappoint you, then.
Yeah, so that's, I've been
Well-
waiting and to be honest, I've got not a lot of.
You don't have to appoint either.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to vacate. If you don't, if
You
it's
don't
not,
have to
you don't-
vacate. You don't have to appoint.
I have to vacate before December 10th,
Of course, but they're not gonna swear you in until the election's
December
certified
10th,
either.
correct?
Yeah.
Correct,
So if there's some fluke and it gets delayed,
okay,
you
yeah,
come to the next meeting. If there's some fluke and mathematical impossibility, you just don't resign from here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making this up,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
seems,
But technically,
no, that's,
it's-
yeah, that's what I've communicated with legal counsel from the city and also with Julie, just to confirm, like, what is the appropriate
Mhm.
process to do, because the next board meeting, I will have been sworn in, so I have to resign before the next board meeting.
so
But I
that
am a
gets
little,
delayed.
I am a little concerned on the FAQ that it says one of them has been elected to the city council, because that probably, maybe we should edit the website until that's
Just says two
actually-
vacancies.
true, like legally true.
Okay, we will make that update.
I mean, again, is it wrong to hope that it all goes to hell and that you stay there?
It's definitely bittersweet.
It's bittersweet for me too.
Okay, any other questions on the administrative services manager? Operations manager.
Yeah, on this first page on 116, under projects, about a third of the way down. Several of us attended a backflow course down in Sunnyvale, just because again, that's something that's gonna be coming at us. We have to have a cross connection control plan adopted by July 1, 2025. I mean, we already have an ordinance. We may end up, we haven't talked to Julie yet, or I haven't brought up with Kat yet, but we may need to do some rework of our backflow ordinance. But the thing that we're gonna be looking at doing is deciding whether or not the regs require that you have a cross connection control specialist on staff, either a staff member or a consultant who does that. This is gonna be somebody who's gonna go into buildings and check their plumbing and do surveys to find out where and what kind of cross connection you need for your facility type thing, which more than just somebody goes out there and tests the backflow device. Right now, we have one of our operators who's certified as a tester, and actually just this week, we've had 4 more people who've been going to an all-week training to hopefully pass the state exam, become a tester. That's the first step before you can then take some more courses and then take an exam and become a specialist. We're hoping that, we can have internally a couple of people that will get the specialist title and kind of help us work through this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we might have some sort of contractual arrangement with just an outside party, because one of the regulations is that if there is a backflow incident, you have to have somebody there on the spot, like within an hour of being notified of a backflow situation. It's just really ratcheting up. And when we went to the course, one of the things that the trainer was giving us, and he's been in the backflow industry for years, he's like 3rd generation backflow tester in the Bay Area, is that, we've had lots of rules on cross connection for years, but nobody really applied, and there was never any push from Sacramento about it or anything, and now all of a sudden, it's just become a big thing. And so everybody's, working towards, I'm sure, Matt, you guys are doing that. And I was telling some folks here recently that in some of the job notices that we get, or I get, and I see here, you see a lot of agencies looking for this cross connection control specialist. Because they're just gonna be the hot item for, last year it was getting certified operators, and then now it's gonna be wanting to have a cross connection control
Is
specialist.
is that for all sizes or for the larger backflows?
For all backflows.
All the way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the irrigation ones?
We're gonna have to come up and part of our plan that we're gonna submit to the state water resource control board is tell them how long it's gonna take for us to go out there and do a survey or hire a water source. And listen to this person tell us about this. And look, they're not telling you have to have it done in a year or 2 years or 5 years. If you can come up with a rational plan, let's say it takes you 5 or 10 years, that's okay. They just want you to go out there and survey all of your customers and find out if they're adequately, or if their system is adequately protected from a backflow situation.
Do we know where all of them are?
We do, because we work with the county, right? And so we know what customers of ours do have backflow devices. What we don't have a handle on is there could be somebody out there with something, well past their meter, maybe inside their building that could be a potential cross connection that we don't know of. And this is where a specialist comes, because he or she is gonna be trained to be able to understand and to tell you, look, this is a backflow situation. This is the type of backflow device you should have here. We're gonna require that you have it here. There's gonna be all kinds of now records. I mean, it's literally gonna be, sounds like it's gonna be a full-time job for a member of staff to be this specialist, or we're gonna pay somebody to do it. One good thing from the course is we got a template of what this cross connection control plan looks like. So I've been working on that, trying to craft a draft of it so we can have an internal discussion of it, and then see if that is going to require us to make any kind of modifications to our backflow ordinance that we've had in place for years.
You're welcome to reach out to Palo Alto and ask them for a plan, the one that they have.
Yeah,
Is it complete? Finished?
is it? Yeah, I mean,
We finished, well, someone misread the deadline and wrote it before July 1st of last year. So we've been sitting on it for a while.
Okay. Yeah, the only ones that we've heard of is because Bosca, the water management meeting, we've been talking about it. So Bosca has set up on the WMR site, or we have access to just a directory there where we can park stuff in there. So the only one I've noticed so far has parked anything in there has been San Bruno. They've hired a consultant to help them put together this plan.
So,
They hired you guys, and they,
No, they hired West Coast Associates.
oh, that's someone else.
Yeah, but
so, Brenda, so anybody who has a backflow device will get a notice from the county to test, and then the county have a list of certified testers to do that.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's already in place. It's been in place for many, many years.
yeah.
So,
So this is gonna take it up a step further now. The state's, this regulation, this plan is gonna say, is gonna require all water purveyors like us. That we have to do a survey of all of our customers, to
but
find
do
out.
we test as well?
Not necessarily do we test, it's just we need to go to your house and find out if you've got something on there that requires you to have a backflow device. Because of something you may be doing on your property. Most people aren't gonna need to have it, but we have to document that we went to your house.
Yeah, I mean, if they have, like, a good sized irrigation system. And, they spread some fertilizer or whatever, I mean,
Yeah.
there you go, you may need a backflow prevention device, because.
Yeah, you've got the air vacuum breakers typically for residential irrigation system, but if you don't have them, built right, you could actually, cause a cross contamination potential. So it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That is just got a lot of focus right now in California. They're requiring everybody to have this plan and have it submitted and have a specialist either under contract or on staff to be available to go to cross connection control, And if there's an incident, it just opens up a whole nother gamut of regulatory requirements. So
Interesting.
it's a big thing, and that you're gonna be hearing a lot of, not only from us, but probably from other water ranges up and down the
you've
area.
got probably 2.5 to 3 FTEs that are just solely focused on backflow.
Yeah,
So we'll be here for the next year.
yeah.
I'm just really happy that our existing operators are so eager to do the training. I mean, so we have
That's good.
five
Certified, yeah.
who are
Yeah, we got 4 that are finishing up the class tomorrow, and then I think they take the exam on Saturday.
on Saturday, yeah. they're going
And the
to-
exam's a hands-on thing, right? So you
They're
have a
Sacramento
backflow
to take it?
device, right?
Wow.
And they'll have several different backflow devices, different types. And the proctor there will do something to the device that doesn't work properly, or maybe it works fine, whatever. And you have to demonstrate to them that you understand what's either wrong with the device or what's not. That's part of the exam, it's a hands-on, it's a hands-on thing.
And that exam is for the backflow tester, which is the first step.
Right.
And then they'll go on to the cross.
Yeah, most cities have a backflow tester
We have one.
on their staff to do the backflow testing for their own facilities. though.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to
Redwood
have.
City has one, I know San Mateo has one, because I know the guy.
Yeah, we don't have one. We, like I said, that our own device that we have in terms of the district, we just have a contractor come.
Alberta. has
I
one
mean,
too.
well, yeah, but we don't go out and test our own device. We don't have the instruments, the gauges to go out and do our own testing. But you know, we may have to because now the specialists, we're gonna have a specialist in there, but there's just a whole bunch of records and it's gonna be quite an event for the district.
Yeah, and you know, we'll assess our staffing needs once we know what the plan and workload's really gonna be.
But for a lot of the system, we have such high pressures, it's really hard to imagine if we get backflow. Yeah.
Well, you know, when we get near some of the
Near the tank
tank sites, right? In fact, we just had somebody contact us over near the Hallmark area, and more than likely, I don't know the exact home, but I would suspect that it's a multi-story home. And so they contact said, hey, you know, our pressures, 30, 40 PSI, can you guys do something? We don't, we don't have a hydromatic tank system nearby. So what we've done, allowed people to do is we allow them to work with a plumber and install an air gap system, but then put a reduced pressure principal device at the meter so that there's no potential backflow. And this way, that air gap tank they have, they can put a booster pump and they can boost their pressure up into their home. And people have done that.
Or you could have a main break,
Right.
somebody hit a hydrant, so,
Right.
I mean, those things happen,
Yeah.
and then you can have a reverse flow, so.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have a lot of low flow or low pressure situation in Belmont, but we do have a couple, at least one neighborhood where, every once in a while, somebody will contact us about low pressures.
Hmm.
Switching gears, on page 117, I always like to point out the USA, the underground service alert location. So last month, we had 316, which was the second lowest for the entire year. I mean, which usually this time of the year, it's going down because the city of Belmont does not allow any construction to take place over the winter time. But we had 316 location requested. We were pretty busy last month. Typically, we've been averaging about 265 across USA requests per month, but last month we had about 50 more. We didn't have any system repair major ones. We had a leaking water service on a polybutylene service that was over 50 years old that we had to replace. But the thing that we've been doing the last month or so, we're still kind of keeping an eye on just the water quality. Typically in the fall time, the water temperatures, they've been nice and warm over the summertime, and the SFPUC lab folks say, you guys keep an eye on the nitrification. It's that time of the year, and if you're not moving a lot of water in your system, keeping that water fresh, you'll get nitrification or nitrifying bacteria start to get in your system. So we do a lot of flushing in the fall time. And so you can see on the top of page 118, the folks, operators were busy. We flushed 66 dead end lines. We have over 90 dead end lines, but we flushed 66. The other ones, I'm sure we were out there monitoring, just checking the chlorine residual and also looking for signs of nitrification. So that's one thing that's kind of keeps us busy right now. Other than that, we like having a full staff.
I
It's nice.
see you had land review for an ADU, we don't have that.
We're not seeing a lot of those. I mean, these are ones that are still slowly progressing and kind of like Kathy and Kevin, so just not a lot. I mean, I remember you mentioned San Mateo, you guys have a lot. We just have not been, I mean, initially a couple of years ago, we had a few, they're still kind of working through, but just have not been having a lot of those. Well, we have been getting just more and more developers. We just had somebody reach out to us this past week and they were talking about a potential 2 7-story buildings on Harbor Boulevard. So Kat and I and Jewett were talking about it. It just has to be some more apartments. They don't sound like life science buildings because they're 7-story too, but they could be, they're in that area. But that's a new potential development that's going to be coming, the city's all going to depend on the cost of money, I suspect, and what the market needs are for whatever kind of building they're building.
All right. Any questions? Hearing none, general manager report.
All right, so before I get into the bullet points here, I wanted to call everyone's attention to these two curious items. And so I'm not sure, Brian, if you can see, but I sent you just a text message right now with the picture, better image. So these are thank you bird baths for Director Jordan and Director Schmidt for
Carry home though.
It will be delivered. It will be delivered.
Oh, my God. that's
For your-
cool.
for your time and dedication, serving on the board. So you get to choose which color you want. We've had great debate whether this is blue or green, and I say teal. Or the more natural,
So it's
one,
not,
so you
wait,
get to
but hold
choose.
on a second, who chooses first? So is it these two? Or,
You gotta duke it out.
okay,
You gotta duke it out.
I will let Brian choose since he's been here longer. Otherwise, I would choose.
And it's also partially, which helped with the selection, home, housewarming gift for Brian as well, now that he has a yard. To celebrate. So, and I will encourage both of you to reach out to the Mosquito and Vector Control District to get treatment, so it doesn't breed mosquitoes, because that's not ideal. But it is a water feature, and we are getting, little, plaques made that we will attach to them.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
We just didn't quite get the timing right, so we'll do that, and we'll also deliver them. I'm not gonna make you toss it in the front seat of your car.
I personally call these things bird killers because my parents have a cat
Oh
that
my
sits there and hunts by it.
Aw,
And there's always tufts of feathers around the bird
Oh, no.
feeder that they have, so it's a feral cat. I mean, you know, it's all wildlife, so.
I turned mine into a succulent
there
garden.
you
Yeah, I was
go.
gonna say, that's gonna be a planter.
They're nice though.
Well,
Very
thank you. That was very thoughtful. Thank you.
And I don't know
Yeah,
if you
that
wanna-
was Brian here. That was very thoughtful. Getting a good look at them right now. I will consult with Karen about that. We do have a neighbor cat that comes over, but maybe this will be a good place to put plants. But it'd be fun to have birds there as well. So thank you.
And I don't know how much we wanna embarrass Director Jordan, given that it's her last meeting.
I mean,
We want.
why are you holding back?
And we can save Brian's embarrassment for a future meeting. But I did want to personally thank you, Kathy, for all of your great guidance. And I mean, I appreciate how you were always looking out for the customer's best interest and eye on the finances in a way I know you often kind of almost dismiss the fact that you don't have as much experience in water itself, but you know, so much of what we do is not water. It's really just, you know, good governance and being good stewards for the community. So I just really appreciate all of the comments and questions and thoughtfulness that is brought to the boards.
You want to turn it over to the rest of us, or you want to go through your general manager report?
Everyone else.
Okay. Well, I will say, since I'll just move on to the record reports and continue the theme. Sad to see you go. Enjoy the succulent planter, Blackbird Path, and like I said, it's bittersweet that you're leaving. Congratulations on winning. Sincere hope that something possible on the election. But not been great serving with you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Records
Yes.
reports to my right.
Yeah, same here, Kathy. So I've known you for many, many years when you were running for the school board. I remember you then. So I want to thank you also for putting that or bringing the 2 and 2 together, because the previous years we had a very rough time getting the city of Belmont to meet with us, but with you on the board, your connection that you had, you know, it was a lot easier. And I think we had probably one of the better meetings we've ever had in the 2x2, the last one that we had, so thank you for that.
And I do want to say, Director Schmidt, this is not to forget you. You're about the size of a pixel on a computer screen 50 feet away at the moment. And it's been
Best, by the way, and hopefully the legal vote will be agreeable. So that's it, thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, if I could jump in just that Kathy, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. We'll have to catch up one-on-one at some point. And you're just the epitome of citizen service and good government. So it's been fantastic to have you around and to have the water district share in your leadership that's been with schools and now back again at city council. It's been great. So thank you.
I think that we were very fortunate that you were available at the time we needed somebody to step in for the hole that we had at the time. It's unusual to have somebody come to the board who has as much board experience, even in a different capacity, for this type of a district. So the political experience makes a big difference. And we are always the most, we will call it political people. We're happy sitting in our board, running the district and not necessarily dealing with some of the other outside influences. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think from a staff standpoint, it's kind of called cap, but also I like what Brian said, is you're so civic minded. You don't see as many people want to get involved. I mean, you want to get involved, school district, the city council, and even here at the water district. And, you know, a lot of people just don't want to do those kinds of things nowadays. So I applaud you for wanting to be a part of your community and you know, from a political standpoint, get involved. You know, it takes a certain kind of person to dedicate the time, you know, do it. And I think we've all benefited from the fact that you've been on the district board for a few years. So best of luck to you and Kevin in the future, Kathy.
And I'll go last, but in the short time that I've known you, thank you for always being so warm and welcoming to me. The city of Belmont is definitely lucky to have you. And I know that they will see the value in you just as we saw the value in you here. So thank you.
All right, now. Director Schmidt. It's his last meeting too, no?
No,
One more
that's why I was
meeting?
like, we can save his
His
embarrassment
embarrassment's next.
for
Okay.
December, if
One more
not
meeting for
January.
Director Schmidt. Okay.
Yeah.
He gets his bird bath today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's only two. I had to buy them both.
Got it.
Yeah. It's a
Perfect.
little hard to manage bird baths.
So,
Go ahead.
but just one last comment to Kathy. You are actually following up on previous board of directors of the Mid-Peninsula that went to council.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know at least of two more. Ed Rodriguez, and he ended up being mayor of Belmont.
Yeah.
And Eleanor Hahn, who ended up, you know, being elected and then being mayor of Belmont as well. At least those two, I think there were more, because the water district has always kind of been looked upon as a stepping stone to council. But we haven't had one since Eleanor Hahn that I can remember, because we were both kind of vying for this position at the same time. But she had already had mind to go to council, and I didn't have that in mind, even though I was very close one time, you know. But anyways, but there were, previous directors who ended up on the council, so good luck to you. And you carry the torch of the district as well with you.
So the question is, do you want to be part of the next 2x2 on that side?
I can't be because we'll figure that out.
You
Yeah.
should be, you should be, by all means.
May I say some? a few words?
Absolutely.
I actually wasn't prepared. I was gonna come in December and say something, but,
You're
Yeah,
still
so-
welcome at December.
You're still welcome in December, yeah. We'll put the chairs out for you.
And the bird bath.
And the, yeah.
Yeah, the decision to run for city council was easy, but not easy. And, you know, when this vacancy came up, I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't looking for anything. And then I got a phone call that said, you should really apply for this. You'd be good. And like, I don't know anything about water. So, you know, I don't really know how it's gonna go. Then it's applied. And I was like, gosh, I'm gonna really blow it if I don't get it. But, you know, what I found in that first meeting when I met with you all was, you know, I was like, well, I'm just gonna be honest about what I know and what I don't know. And I remember, I think Louis, you were like, do you want this to be part of the city? And I said, what? No, I wanted to just join something that I knew as a consumer, I had zero issues with, right? I had zero issues with the water district. And I learned really quickly how well run this organization is and the great leadership that you guys all have. And, you know, I've learned a lot. I've had a great time. Then I was kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to leave because I'm really enjoying it here. But there are so many things happening in the city of Belmont, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And I'll be honest, I trust myself to make decisions. So, you know, I was gonna put myself out there, but also knowing that if I did get elected, you'll always have an ally, right? I'll be on the other side, but I'll be an ally. Just the same with the school district is that I serve as an ally because I've been on the other side. So I just want to thank everybody for their time, always answering my questions and sometimes dealing with some of the things that I push back on that maybe nobody else cares about, but I am gonna miss you guys. I was talking to my daughter earlier today and she said, is it bittersweet? I said, really bittersweet. I have a really good time. The meetings are fun, they're engaging, we're doing good things, we're serving the community. And you know, maybe I'm a little crazy for adding a little more work to my life, but thank you for accepting me, for welcoming me, and yeah, if something fluky happens, I'll be back.
Don't resign yet, you never know.
Yeah, you never know, but I do appreciate, you know, I'll reach out to Tammy and Monique and how much they helped me and how, Kat, you've been a really great addition and working with you has been really wonderful. And I hope to continue to we could still be friends and, you know, still see you guys around town, but thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure and an honor for me to serve with you guys.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I can go through the things in my report now. Really exciting stuff. So I just wanted to let you know that actually a few weeks ago, Standard & Poor reached out to us, letting us know that they were reviewing the credit rating of our COPs. Apparently they do the review every year or two, and you know, since we've issued, they haven't seen any issues. This year there was a red flag based on our audit, the same line that everyone trips up on that makes it look like we have a real revenue problem, but really is just the pension liability and the different way it's classified. They reached out to us to set up a meeting. They sent us, you know, a long list of questions, the first one being related to that. So, and we, you know, worked with Wolf Hansen and James, and we responded to all those questions in writing ahead of the meeting. They started the meeting telling us what the red flag was, and they said, and you've already answered the questions, so we're not concerned anymore. But, and then we just went through the rest. So it went well. Nothing to be concerned about. They did say that they would hold off to issue the report until after today, so that we'll let them know the rates pass, so there's not speculation on rates. And then they'll finalize the report. So we'll let them know that tomorrow. Treasury investment, you have the report from Wolf Hansen, but we did have another tranche come up for maturity at the end of October. So that has been reinvested. And you can see an update to our portfolio here. But that 2.2 million is now in a 6-month bond, which will mature in May. And we got 4.4%, 4.47% rate on that, which should be good.
Very good.
We did meet actually with both Assemblymember Pappen and Senator Becker this month, Kathy and I. The Pappen meeting was the morning of the last board meeting. So we already talked about that, and then following Monday, Senator Becker actually came to the district in Dairy Lane and toured and spent about an hour. We talked about a lot of things. He's a very patient man because I had zero voice that day. It was worse than James's squeak. It was pretty bad, but I think the meeting went very well. He understands a lot more about the district and our needs and our issues. And so he's also expressed willingness for his office to support us in applying for grant funds under the climate bond. So it was great. One thing, it's not listed here, but I wanted to ask. So we normally do the review of our PARs OPEB investments once a year, and then the board makes a decision on whether you want to keep with the current investment strategy or not. We usually do that in about December or January. Not every district does it every year. I mean, they'll send us a report to staff. So I just wanted to ask how you feel about wanting to do that again this year, or, I mean, I know we have some uncertainties with the election. Is there a thought to do it maybe mid-year or anything else, just so we can get that scheduled and planned?
I don't know that I have a strong opinion one way or the other. Unless there's I mean, we come up with the same answer every year, which is moderate risk, so.
Yeah.
Anybody want to see it sooner rather than later? I mean, if we're starting to lose money or something like that, if you need to look at it, then let's not, I don't know that I have, but I don't know that I have an opinion, as long as everybody's comfortable with doing it at a different date.
Yeah, well, we do it every year. You don't have to do it every year, and if, I mean, as the decision's kind of been the same every time, you know, it's a question of, do you want to go through the process this time, or potentially postpone it until anything in the world changes?
might be useful
we
to
don't
see the-
want to forget about
Right,
it, you
it might
know,
be useful to see what we've
so,
actually
you know.
had route as far as returns go.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to make a decision about changing the investment strategy. But it might, I don't think it would hurt to have it as an agenda item with at least a report from the financial advisors.
Yeah.
What the,
at least that, yeah. Just to-
how it's doing and the health of it and yada, yada, yada. And then if we decide, oh my God, we need to, then we can schedule something.
Okay, sounds good, so I'll reach out to them and get them here either December or January meeting. Good. In my report, I have a summary of new laws where, you know, as usual, as a Bridget's team's trying to understand and wrap their head around them. We're at conferences trying to wrap our head around everything, so, but I did give you a couple attachments. Of some kind of nice relevant summaries of relevant laws. Board member recruitment, Allison talked about it, wanted to call to your attention that we previously had the strategic plan meeting scheduled for January 14th as a special meeting. We're gonna co-opt that date to hold, hopefully, interviews of multiple candidates for the board on that date. And then reschedule a strategic plan for a couple months down the line, ideally after the new board members are on board for a little while. Also, San Francisco issued a new fluoridation fact sheet. I'm guessing it's in response to what's happening at the national level. So I included that fact sheet here. It's on our website. Our staff has it. You know, as always, we're a fact-based organization, so we'll just disseminate facts as best we can. And I'll let you skim through if there's anything else you want to ask about in here, let me know.
Any questions from the board? Regarding the general manager?
So on that audit, there's nothing else that came up, right?
On the SFP
Yeah.
review, no, nothing else. I mean, they asked a lot of questions, a lot of really good questions, but they seemed pretty happy with all their responses.
I don't remember that. Ever have the SNP contacted us?
They hadn't, I mean, because they review our audit every year, we submit our audit every year, and they hadn't seen any issues, everything was pretty stable, and it was just the, you know, oddball this time that gave concern, but the
I mean,
timing's
even
actually.
going back in years when there was issue, we never had it. They never contacted us.
Well, after the COPs were issued, then they started talking. I think Tammy met with them at least once or twice before she retired.
Okay. When I saw it, I'm like, SNP.
And the timing of it is actually really good, Wolf Hanson said, because when we go out, assuming we go out to issue new debt,
Right,
we'll engage S&P, so this will be
Yeah, yeah.
fresh, and hopefully that process
yeah,
will go just,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that
yes,
much
yeah.
easier.
Yeah, I was just wondering how come, you know, because I don't remember it ever happening, you know, so. Okay.
All right, hearing no other questions, item 10, communications,
None.
none. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene in closed session.
Alright.
We wanna do this again.
Well, I was gonna ask you, how you wanted to start this.
Okay, we are now back from closed session. Julie, do you want to report out?
Yep, there's no reportable action.
Great, thank you very much. I think with that, hearing no other